There is a class system, and there is a group of people who make decisions that affect the finances of a huge number of other people in very bad ways. Get ready for lockdowns. In the history of the world, that was the biggest transfer of wealth from a lot of people to a small group of people. Over $3.7 trillion was given to the billionaire class. I don't like that term, but that's who it went to. A lot of people have problems with MS Yellen, but she used the word unsustainable, and we're going in a direction that can't last. I don't know how you feel, but I know how I feel when I hear our leaders talk about making economic choices. It makes me feel bad. The CEO of McDonald's told me that families making less than $45,000 a year can't afford to go to McDonald's anymore. This made me realize how bad it is. That was something he said out loud on a recorded line. He said that they have to cook at home because in some places a Big Mac meal costs $18. Don't you get it? That. Again, if you want to think that was just a coincidence, think about the runaway train. No one meant for the train to be going 80 miles per hour with no one driving it. It was just a bunch of small accidents that added up. That makes sense to us. That is, we can believe that there is intent, that there is aim. What I call dictator playbook 101 is something I talk about a lot. There are many examples in history of people who thought they were in charge of everything. How do you do it? You make a lot of people poor and then give them money in exchange for their votes. For the record, that's exactly what I think is happening right now, but that's just my opinion. A lot of people try to buy votes in a planned way. I don't want to live in this world. At the moment, the US dollar is being used as a weapon to weaken the middle class and giving most of the money to the richest 1%. In his most recent interview, however, famous investor Mark Yusko said that Bitcoin is becoming a countermeasure. Yusko is worried about the Warren family's growing influence on financial rules. He also thinks that the halving event and rising institutional interest will cause a Bitcoin supply shock. He also talks about how the deliberate weakening of the US dollar and rising cost of living are both planned moves to gain more control and power. Yusko ends by pointing out Bitcoin as a way to get around the system. He also predicts that Bitcoin's price will go through the roof after it passes $5,000. One thing that sets great investors, thinkers, and just plain great people apart is that they are always looking for and listening to different points of view. Pay attention. It's not helpful to try to change someone's mind or make your point while you listen. Pay attention. This is something I do all the time with Bitcoin. I watch the trolls and the haters and I listen. I say, okay, because I understand what they mean. And what's interesting is that most of them don't make sense, at least to me after 11 years of learning about Bitcoin. You know, that's either not right or doesn't make sense if you listen to what they say. There have been some criticisms that were true. We've also talked about some real unfinished business, but it's still cool. And James Allop is the guy I love the most when it comes to pulling a FUD. He's so good that he'll just say facts. Like when people said, oh, that was Jamie Dimon who said it. There you have it. She's just going to show up and make a lot more. And Jameson posts, here's the code that says that can't happen without any thought. This is just a story about supply and demand. We talked about this for months before it was finally approved, which we did very well. We're off by 2 or 3 days, but we did great. Okay, but where are we? People still don't seem to understand that it's a two-step process, right? We have the demand shock, which is this huge appetite like a sailor, but it doesn't just happen once. Michael, on the other hand, would chomp once and then digest like a dinosaur or a python. And this is more like, I don't know what the hungriest jungle cat is that eats and hunts once a week instead of every day. That is, this is going to go on for a very long time because the powerful people are against it, right? Everyone who supports the Warren family said, nope, that's not welcome here. We don't want those new ETFs here. Over time, those will fall one by one, making more capital try to get through the gate. Once more, I don't like this comparison because it makes things seem better. Last Saturday, we went to the Duke UC basketball game, and you know what? North Carolina won. At that point, my wife, my 13-year-old, and his friend were coming out. Also, everything comes in at different times, but everyone leaves at the same time. As you go through, everyone else is leaving through this narrow doorway. After going through the door, there is a set of stairs that lead down to the street. And then this group of very drunk and wild guys, of course it was guys, start running through the crowd. It caught the kids off guard and they began to fall. You could see what was going to happen, but it didn't go badly. When everyone got FOMO, all of a sudden, some people started running because they thought there must be something no. I feel like that's how it is people are waking up. It is the halving cycle that makes the 4-year cycle possible, and it is hard-coded. That's not going away. There was also a shock to demand because of the supply. What I meant was that. Are you sure we had the demand shock? These things were okay with us. Now, the average person can buy things. It now makes up 1% or even 1% to 3% of the Fidelity Broad portfolio. Based on their long-term goals, they have an ETF that holds all of their other ETFs. Their share is worth 1% to 3%, and they have a 1% stake in FBTC, or is it FBIT? I don't remember what ticket was, FBTC, both BTC and FBIT mean the same thing. But the thing is, prices go up when there is a shock to demand, which is what we're seeing. Today, however, there will be a supply shock that can't be stopped no matter what day it is, 417, 418s, or 420, because it's definitely going to happen. We'll be getting 450 a day instead of 900 a day. We're buying 3 times as much as is being made right now because of the amount of money coming in. That will make 6 times as much as is being made now, but there's a catch. That's only 6 times what's being made now, if the miners sell. But some of the miners were actually buying. These people were not only not selling to pay their electric bills, they were buying in the market. That can't go on forever, but the fact that people are adding to their treasury because they think this move is coming is just a guess. The idea of treasuries is another thing that doesn't get enough attention. He's basically turned himself into a Bitcoin bank with MicroStrategy, which is clearly the biggest part of his wealth, but some other companies have quietly added to it. For example, Morgan Creek has Bitcoin on our balance sheet. We're not Sailor, but we do have it. And it's funny because as we're reviewing the past year, my co asks, should we rebalance and take some profits? I thought, no, we went through the downfall, we're not rebalancing here. The money I make this year might even be rolled over into next year. That's what's going on. We're not the only ones. And by the way, I love that you call it Twitter. When you use sanctions as a weapon against people, you force them to do things that are against the rules. Thanks a lot. Call it Twitter instead of X. But that's not my point. He says he gave the numbers. He said that 5 years ago, 34% of our trade with Russia was in dollars and only 3% was in yuan. We trade in dollars 13% of the time and yuan 34% of the time. Then who is getting richer, right? There is a lot of evidence to support the world reserve currency, which is similar to the petrodollar standard from 1971. If we believe that, which I think we should, then putting sanctions on and forcing these other countries to follow them is weakening that. Like if you look at how much oil Iran made before and after the sanctions, they are in a straight line. Why? They will discover another place to offer their oil for sale. You can be put into a class. A small group of people are making choices that will affect the finances of a huge number of other people in very bad ways. Get ready for lockdowns, from the crisis to a very small group of people. That was the biggest transfer of wealth in the history of the world. $3.7 trillion went to the billionaire class. I don't like that term, but that's what it is. The BTFP ends on March 11th. Because of this, these banks have bonds they can't sell because they'd lose money and have to shut down. You're telling them, okay, well, you can borrow money from us for a short time so you can hold these until they mature. The program is being taken away now. What's going to happen with $133 billion? I'm not sure. Does it turn into steam? Like, really? Plus, they have to sell or get eaten up when they realize they've lost money. That was kind of strange. I thought that was a strange choice.